as Pastor said, we have a bit of a conundrum. As part of our snow clearing contract this year, we contracted with the company to apply salt to the parking lot and the walkways at their discretion. We thought probably it'd be 5 or 6 times a month, so we kind of budgeted for that. Unfortunately, apparently with an abundance of caution, in the first month they applied salt 17 times, which meant that at $70 and something per application, we had a $1,200 salt bill for our first month. So our conundrum is we can't continue to pay $1,200 a month for salt. So 2 of the options we've come up with is either get a person from the congregation or maybe a team of people so they don't have to do it all at this, every day, to contact the snow clearing company when we want to have salt applied. Or perhaps there is someone in the congregation knows who would be willing to take on the job and to be paid for to apply salt to our parking lot and walkways when it was required, and we control our costs a little better because that's an awful lot of money for salt. The additional problem is evidently there is a shortage of road salt this winter. So instead of it being $50 an application like last year, it's went to $70. Now, if anybody has any other great ideas that we could perhaps use, they could either contact Anne or myself, and hopefully we can get our, yes, Anne?
The one other detail here which is relevant in terms of our commitments and obligations is that we do have to have salt for the parents arriving for nursery school early in the morning by 8. So that's a significantly complicating factor in terms of who's going to make a determination early enough that we can call for the salt or that we can get the salt down. And we had sort of hoped that we could just have the company do that, but I think that they're maybe particularly aware of liability or whatever, and it really is going to more than break our budget if we have to continue at the rate that they have been doing it.
We do own now a spreader, and it's easier than tossing it around, and it is actually practical to do, and it's not as much likely it isn't as likely to cause a heart attack as somebody shoveling heavy snow. So relatively, it's not in the same league, but it does require somebody being up first thing in the morning, assessing and doing it, or calling to have it done. So
we're open both for ideas and volunteers, because we need volunteers to enact the ideas should this be what happens. So the floor is open, and we need to solve this fairly quickly. I'm not sure what our bill is from the middle of December to the middle of we're just approaching the middle of January, but the first month was a killer. So.
Has this been addressed with the contractor, a concern of over-application? I mean, it's a delicate thing. I live in a townhouse where we have contractors likewise, and it's always a delicate balance between liability and sustainability.
Their original proposal to us was they would salt as we required, and we didn't want to take on that responsibility.
Actually, in the first contract that came, it said that we were waiving them salting the parking lot,
No
that
salt.
they were only good, and I couldn't sign it that way because of our liability for insurance with the nursery school. So we had to get different wording. The wording we tried was that yes, please salt at your discretion and we will pay you per salting. And now that's not working so well.
And that contract effectively transfers liability to the plowing company, so that's why their
it's
discretion.
attractive that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to suggest that they're oversalting, but I suspect in an abundance of caution, they're doing it if they think it needs even a little bit.
So the steps here would be that we come up with an alternative, and then we amend, in negotiation with them, we amend the contract, that we accept responsibility for the call about whether it needs salting or not, and then whether we do it or they do it. So there you go.
Or we take it on ourselves and just
Yeah,
have.
but
it
take
on
that
salt.
out of the contract,
Yeah.
because otherwise,
That shifts the liability then as well,
Yes.
so an awareness of that.
Well, ultimately, as the owners of the building, we are liable, so.
Yeah, but they don't want to share the liability with
Yes.
us. The other thing, we had a time limit on this?
well,
Well-
we were hoping to be able to have something by the middle of the week or so that we could get back to them and renegotiate the contract by the middle of January. So that's why we're asking, please, think and the floor is open. This is a dilemma for us. But it's hard to sustain where we are right now.
I'm willing to take on salting this week. So it gives people time to ponder.
Well, at currently, we still have the contract with them to do it
I know.
at their discretion, so.
I'm saying we contact them and say, do not until further notice.
Yes, how early with the nursery school, how early does it need to be salted and how much of the lot needs to be salted?
For 8 AM, we promise to have it for the teachers arriving. And it doesn't need to be the entire lot, I guess, for them, but
So 8 o'clock,
8 o'clock should be fine. Now, if there's a pile of snow and they haven't shoveled, we have to wait until the shoveling has happened and then apply. But I don't know what their timing is. Our old contractors always had it done by about 7. We were one of their first, but I don't think we're on the list that way with this.
Well, and we did ask them to put in the contract that it would be done by 8, and they responded that it was actually quite impossible for them
Promise.
to promise that because of various changing conditions. And again, I can see that in terms
Yeah,
of
if it
contract.
starts snowing at
management.
7:30, they can't guarantee they'll be here by 8 to clear it, so that's basically what they were.
But they have been, it has been
Yeah.
early, I believe. I haven't.
Is there a difference between the contract, whether they're for salting and for shoveling?
Yes.
Do you have separate?
We have, our contract with this company is to plow if there's more than 4 centimeters of snow, whatever unlimited number of times for which we pay $400 a month. The salting is extra, and so our contract covers a variety of what the conditions might be for plowing, and I believe they might salt the walkway with that, but not the parking lot.
Yeah.
So this is a celebration of our blessings, right? Before the parking lot was paved, this was not an issue.
Well, we could probably.
Occasionally.
Yeah, paving is problematic in that it's nice and smooth now and easier to clear. The rough gravel gave a little bit more grip. But the other hassle is that with our extension now, the downpipe ends and goes straight across the entire parking lot. So there's a little river that when everything else is long dry, there's this little path of water that then freezes and has to be kept salted. Or sanded might be even. I think we'll get some sand as well because the salt washes away and the sand might give traction. So that's the next part of the plan.
So I think that's, if nobody has any other comments, if you have come up with something in the next couple of days, as Ann said, we're trying to get this resolved as quickly as possible because every day is just more chances that it's going to be icy out there we're going to have. Yes?
Obviously, Susan and I can't come up and help in the morning.
Why not?
You know. But Susan just said to me, I mean, I guess the only other idea that I can think of is if there is a retired individual who lives right around the church here, who isn't a part of the congregation, who is always up early and would be very happy for a little extra pocket money during the month, depending on how many times they needed to come. So,
Yeah, and the closer they are near here, the better is because they can tell. I mean,
Well, that's
you
what
can
I
look
was
out in the
thinking.
morning and say, well, it didn't snow. If it was clear yesterday, I really don't
Yeah.
need to go over and check
Yeah.
it today. That's.
yeah, and I don't know, I mean, one way of approaching that would be simply to do up a little flyer and put it in people's doors and just say, if you're interested in a little tiny part-time job, please give us a call, we're desperate.
Well, they wouldn't do that.
No, okay. But, somebody likes to feel they're helping out
Yes.
and, you know, there are lots of people like that. The money does, it'll be nice, but they also have that feeling of contributing to the community.
Or if there's someone nearby who wants a part-time job and they're,
Or even if there was someone nearby who was willing to make the
Judgment
the
call.
judgment call, so that, like, the company will do it for us, but we'd kind of like to take back responsibility for the
yeah,
decision.
they'll still solve it if we request.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different ways we can come at it.
Okay.
Thank you.